Justas, I believe, is from the FU group. Justas, do you know, is your group active, proactive, or you're actually kind of alone in this group?
No, there should be Ignis as well. I will message him to see what he's doing, but Ignis and I think some other Lithuanians as well. They joined like last semester, I believe.
Okay, because your group is fairly large. It's like 15 or something in the list, so fairly strange that a smaller group is nearly all present here, but this larger group is only one, represented by a single student. Okay, so either way, this is not your problem or whatever, so good morning again to everyone. This course is called the Bachelor 2. So what we will do here, mainly this course is centered around where you can extract information from me in respect on what to do with your bachelor thesis. So this is like a kind of a practice type of lectures. I wouldn't even call this lectures. I would call them time where you can ask me whatever issues you have regarding to your bachelor writing work. So basically, we will have 3 interim checks in total for during this whole time. So the first will be at the start of March. Second will be at the start of April, and then we will have the final lookup to see what have you produced during this semester. The grading of this subject is either positive or negative. There's no number, so you have to be evaluated positively to pass. And basically the criteria for this is that you have to show me, and actually there will be more people in the final council who will look at your work, to show us that you produced enough material that's roughly 70 to 80% of your bachelor work, and that you can finish your work in the remaining 1 month that you will have left after the end of the semester. So basically the whole your job will be to actually present your work in a way that lets us believe that you can finish, and finish successfully with your bachelor studies. So my job during this semester is to actually advise you and guide you in, I would say, good directions, and to spot any mistakes in your presentation, in your I do not know how well are you get along with your main supervisor that's actually overseeing your bachelor thesis, but sometimes the relationship between the student and the advisor can be turmoil, I would say, or at some point they do not cooperate. So I'm here to actually help you if you need on any general questions. I could try to look up any individual questions for you, and I will try to help you with individual questions, but you have to understand I have a lot of students and I'm not an expert in your specific work, so I can help you as much. If I do not know, for example, the topic that you're asking me, it could be, for example, regarding some heavy programming or whatever, since I'm more of an electronics person. So I will try to guide you to or find you a guy who you can actually refer to. So yeah, so as I mentioned, there will be 3 interim checks. The first check, as I mentioned, will be at the start of March. There you will show me a PowerPoint or whatever presentation of your current status. Before this meeting, I will post a kind of a drop-in field in the Moodle system where you will upload your current Bachelor work in its current state. That's the Word format or PDF. So I will know and will check the current status of your work. During the second meeting, I will try to evaluate what was the progress between the first and the second. So you will have a 1 month time, and I can then see what kind of work has been done during this 1 month. And after that, from the second to the final, we will see the same thing. Why are we doing this intermediate steps? Because I want to see how fast or steady you progress. So for example, there's a situation where in the first check you produce something, you show me something. During the second meeting, you do not have any material, you have the same things, and in the third, you do produce something more and show us more data, more results. This poses a rather strange question, of course, in my head. Why were you prolonged in producing these results? And if you're at the borderline of passing or not passing, this could be taken into account as your work ethic, in the sense that you tend to postpone things, and if you tend to postpone things, this can lead to a very, very bad ending in the Bachelor final run. So we have to take this into account. So I would like to ask you to work progressively and more or less constantly during this whole semester in respect to your Bachelor work. For the first meeting, you will show me what you will show me. I do not know what's the status of your current works. I assume since you finished the first Bachelor work, you have some sort of overview of the similar projects. You may have a block diagram, a structure diagram or something, but it's still at an early stage. So I believe in the upcoming month you will add something to this and you will present this on March, at start of March. These interim checks are not marked or graded in any sort of way. So it's more or less for checking up your progress and your consistency with the progress. So this will be a good opportunity for you to learn how to present your Bachelor works, because presentation is also very key. The presentation has to be rather short, and it has to cover all of the main subjects of your work. You don't have to go into every single small detail. I know you might want to, because for every person their work is kind of special. They want to show that he did a lot, and sometimes this leads to very complex and time-consuming presentations where very little relevant information is transferred through a lot of words. So we would like to avoid the situation, and we will try to see your presentations, we will try to ask questions, we will try to point out any mistakes or good points that you will have during these presentations. So we'll try to learn how to present the Bachelor work in a correct manner that will not alienate the commission council of the final work, because they will have to look at a lot of works. And for example, if you're going first on the first day, that's fine because everyone's still fresh. But if you're going, for example, like at the end of the day, everyone's tired, so there's a psychological factor which shouldn't, of course, be there, but it will always be, where they become irritated, they become tired, and if you just keep on talking non-relevant information, this will just look bad. So we'll tend to avoid this. So yeah, more or less, this whole subject is a field, a time where you can ask questions freely in a safe environment, completely before the final approach, before the final leg on your bachelor. So there's no stupid questions here. All of the mistakes that you're planning to make or going to make, you better do it here during your practice runs presenting your work. So since it's not graded up to the final stage of this, so you can just try out freely whatever you want. Also, since I know that mostly students do not work day-to-day basis on their bachelor, this is a given. Like, you wouldn't work today, tomorrow. Maybe some of you do, and I applaud you. But in the most scenarios, students work like in brief chunks of time during this whole semester, and this is the good expectation, because the even more sad realistic expectations that students start to work only at the end and in a very small time frame. So I would like to ask you to actually do this kind of small chunk sit downs with your bachelor work, so your head is constantly thinking about the work, about problems you may experience, especially problems, because when you think about the problem and you do not know something, you will then at some point start to look at solutions, and those solutions usually lead to some sort of work being done. And if you put that on paper, you will build up your bachelor and you will build up your content of your work. So since, as I mentioned, then most likely a small part of you will work very, very consistently or a day-to-day basis, I do not see the necessity to have these meetings every time that it's planned. Usually what we do with students, we agree that if you have a question, you just ask me directly. In the Moodle, there's a forum, a tool where you can ask questions that will be generally seen to the whole public. So for example, if you have a question that you think is widely unclear for a lot of you, you can ask that in the forum. I will answer it in the forum so everyone can see the answer, and anyone can also, if they have the same problem, can also know the answer. So, but if you have an individual question, you can always email me directly. If you need time for a council, physical, not a physical, of course, now, but maybe later on, but for now, a Zoom call, also write to me. And if you feel the necessity to have a group meeting, you also inform me that we need to meet, we have questions, we need answers, we need guidance, consultancy. Can we do this during the regular, or even if you want irregular hours, then we have to schedule this, but time can be made, I think, easily during this whole situation. So what else? Yeah, information about a common question is about the bachelor thesis. So I just want to run ahead. What length it has to be? How many pages do I have to write? This is more or less an answerable question, because in the general sense, you usually have a thesis between 35 to 55 pages, but that's just a very statistical approach. You can have a very, very good work in a 25 pager and have a very, very bad work in a 100 pager. So contents is the key, and you shouldn't forcefully add information that's not relevant in your work just so you could have a fixed limit to a fixed goal to reach some certain number of pages. This shouldn't be the case. Always think about content. Is this content that I'm putting here relevant to the work that I'm doing? If it is, put it there. If it's not, you don't need to do it. Always think about when you're writing your bachelor, can I explain it? For example, if I wrote something, can I explain this and fully understand what I'm saying? Because in the first round, there will be some sort of level of copy and paste, especially in English groups where works are being done in the English format, because information is much more easier to find in English, and you tend to a certain degree rewrite stuff. So by doing this, always think that, do I fully understand what I'm writing? Because this could get you in a very tight loop if questions will be asked and you can't provide a decent answer. So that means there's a fundamental problem with your work understanding, and this will question your entire how would I put it? Is this work really done by you, or is it was just a pure information that you just took information from something? So always know the answer to and understand what you're writing. Yeah. Any questions so far?
Yeah, I have, like, I can see on Moodle that there is graduation thesis 2 and 3.
Yes.
Is it like this subject is only 2 we're gonna take this semester, or what's the difference between 2 and 3?
3 is your final leg of the bachelor. So 3 starts after 2, normally. So the bachelor 2 will end at end of April, starting of May. After that, you will get 1 month to write your bachelor and finalize your bachelor work. So bachelor 2, during this, you have to show the commission, to me, that you have a nearly finished work. That's roughly 80% done. So we can say, yeah, you can finish this in the remaining 1 month. So bachelor 3 is actually the final time and final month where you prepare and then finally defend your bachelor work. This will be the final mark on your bachelor studies.
And as you said, like, about the copy and pasting from English sites and this stuff.
Yeah.
So will this be regarded as a negative point, for example, because like most of our bachelor thesis, especially in the COVID time, now there is no any practical thing we can make. We're gonna mostly make a simulation or mostly gonna make like just something to show online.
So yeah, so show online is one thing, or simulate is also this is original work. If you simulate something, it's original. But what I'm saying, if you're extracting information from an English source, you have to either cite it reference it, and B, you have to understand what is written there. This is a bachelor work. This is not a this is not a
like a project or a report.
Scientific article. This was the word I was looking for. So your work is based. It can be based on other results from other works, but they have to be very clearly defined. Which part was done by you, and it has to be to some degree done by you, and which part was taken. For example, I took this block, let's say part of a PCB, from source A, where it's used in this kind of manner. Here, the microcontroller does this, and that. It's used for this, and this purpose. Reference 1, reference 2, reference 3, whatever references. So basically, you show that you can easily extract information. You know how to understand it, how to read it, and you know how to use the already existing information in your project. This is fine, but you have to follow the current steps. That's it. And so if you just copy paste, you will need to reference. And if your whole text is a single reference, then it's a bad thing.
Mm-hmm. So the good thing is it's still okay. It's okay to copy and paste, but to understand everything and use it as a reference to support your work.
You need to reference it. So if you put a sentence from one and you're just completely copying and pasting, you have to have brackets. Commas, not commas. What's it too?
Double quotes.
Yeah, those things. So you have to add a reference, and you have to have this in your reference list. So this is fine. This is totally acceptable, but you need to do this, and you need to follow the rules. And of course, all of your work cannot be a single or just a mix-up of references. There should be a certain degree of original work. Yeah, so basically just keep in line with the references. If you're copying something, that's acceptable, but you need to reference it, and that's it.
Okay. Thank you, Professor.
Other questions? So yeah, this is a question I can only answer based on the information we're having. So it seems like they're kind of expecting that this whole thing will let off at middle of March, end of March, where physical contacts can begin in the laboratories. So just an estimation that you will have access starting of something roughly end of March, but this is just speculation or actually information that's given to us. I cannot guarantee that this is indeed will be the case. Most likely not, because even currently last year, students successfully graduated and they defended their works during this kind of online meetings. And when Mohamed mentioned that it's very hard to build something or do something, that's not entirely true, because you still can get a lot of things. You can order a lot of things. So explanation that COVID will not be, or this lockdown will not be a reason for you to actually drastically reduce the scale of your work. It can affect, of course, but it will not affect your work in a I would say I had to build a robot and here's a picture of a robot kind of way. So no, Not like that. You would still have a program, you would still have some sort of mechanical maybe drawings, you would still have a PCB or electrical design library. So it may not be physically manufactured, but you still would still have to design everything and show this design. So yeah, it would still be at a level maybe where you just don't have a experimentally tested final final work to be shown. If, for example, you're building something.
So,
Anyway.
yeah, sorry for interrupting. So, for example, for the robots part, like you said, the mechanical drawings and the like the only the design of the control system and the code will be enough to graduate without actually making the robot.
You will get a question. Why didn't you manufacture? And can you answer it?
Be that because I was just blocked from going to the laboratory work I'm working in 20 days ago. So since 20 days I didn't go to the laboratory work or didn't do anything practical.
So okay, regarding your work, you have to do something. You have to build. Can you buy this stuff? Can you order this stuff? Can you?
The stuff was already provided by the university and it was already in the laboratory work of the university.
Okay, so if if you're building on stuff that's already somewhere and you cannot have access to it, this is a different set. Yeah, you can show this as a, I wouldn't say excuse, but as a reason for the drawbacks of your work. For not drawback, but why did why you had to show less or to a lesser degree your content. So yeah, if you're dependent on equipment that can only be accessible at a certain location and you have a restriction to access this is a valid point, and of course your marks it will have to be considered, and your marks shouldn't be degraded by the fact if this is indeed the point. But if, for example, you have access to, let's say, an Arduino board in the university, but you can also buy this.
Yes, of course, yeah. Not
so
that simple.
Yeah, this is a two separate things. So, for example, a rather valid, I would say, reason for the lasers is, for example, if you need to buy a very sophisticated soldering equipment, if you, for example, are planning to actually assemble a very small PCB that requires, for example, components that have very narrow pitches, and you need to, for example, hot air blower machines or whatever special equipment to actually handle these kind of electronics, then that's also a kind of rightful thing to state that you didn't have access to these kind of equipments to actually fully realize it. But there's no obstruction of shipping out the PCB to you, so you can show at least a non-assembled PCB that's already designed. So you have to show that you were not just sitting, you were trying to find opportunities to make this happen. Okay, so in respect to, okay, good, please, sorry.
Just thank you.
Okay, so in respect to these interim checks, do you have any questions about those? As I mentioned, these are not marked. The first one will be at the start of March on the first week. Second will be on the start of April, and then we will have the final. So for the first, the requirement will be basically, I will send actually the requirements when 1 week is remaining through Moodle. There will be also a link, a field where you can upload your work in the Moodle. Only I will have access to that. So the idea behind the first check is actually put a status mark on your current bachelor work. So you have done X amount of work. This is the starting point. On April, I will compare this to on April status, March status, and I will see the progress in between a month, because this February is usually a bit vague in the sense that you just finished your exams, you already finished Bachelor 1, so it's kind of and usually not a lot of work in respect to Bachelor goes around February. So that's just kind of the way it's planned out. So yeah, the March start will be just a check, and it will be your first tryout to present the work, what you have done, in a very, very short and timely fashion. Is everyone fine and okay with us having these meetings on a need to do basis, or do you want to have this kind of weekly? Not weekly. This is actually scheduled for every 2 weeks, but still, usually none of you. If you just log in just for login, then it's no point. And if you have questions, you just write me and say we need, or I need, if it's individual counsel guidance, and we can easily arrange a meeting. Is everyone fine with this? And is everyone agreeing that this is the approach you're fine to take?
Yes, I agree with this.
Anyone else? Because I heard 2 yes answers, so very hard to understand the democracy here.
Yes, it's fine as long as you have a question. Don't mind. Because it's like the course project that you gave us in the previous semester. Similar.
Okay. Any more questions? Because we have 1 minute 40 seconds left, and if you want, I can close and we can all re-log back in if anyone has any questions about this work.
Just one small one, but this is not entirely related. Just some stuff that I bought at the end. Would I give it back to the university? For example, I got a soldering iron. I got some extra resistors, transistors, and stuff like that. So at the end, I don't need it. Can I give it back, or is there an option like that, or?
I mean, sure. If you don't need it, but you bought it from a store, I understand, yes?
Yeah.
So it's your material. What you're planning to do with it is up to you. If you want to give it away to university, I would call it a donation. I think university would actually, take.
Okay.
Would take
yes.
it.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions?
Yeah, I'm asking if, after everyone's leave, if you have some time to have a look at my report and something like that.
Okay, so after either way, then I will close this Zoom and I will open it again so you can log back in. Whoever needs to log back in, and for anyone who's clear, then I will meet you in March.
Thank you, Professor.
Most likely. Okay, so